Hello everyone, my name is Razin, and welcome back to Let's Play Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 2. Last time around, we infiltrated Malak's temple over in the Lands of Rage, and naturally, we beat up Malak. After Malak died, we were able to grab yet another orb, which allowed us to travel here to the Forest of Confusion. But before we went on over here, we decided to take care of a number of side quests, both of which actually involve things that are found in Malak's temple. The first was grabbing a revival incense from a treasure chest there, which allowed us to revive the dead goddess Izanami over in Belial's castle that we had met previously, and because we had given her the silk thread in KMT1 and our save carried over to KMT2, she gave us her robe, which is a very helpful passive item that negates all damage and any bad effects from damage or trap tiles in the dungeons and on the overworld map. So, very useful item to have. Highly recommend you get it if you have the chance. And then we also freed an imprisoned fairy child, which was requested to us by a villager NPC earlier in the Lands of Rage. And then after we went back to that NPC, he gave us a key to Belphegor's tower, and then we went over there, climbed it, and defeated Belphegor at the top, and as a reward, he gave us Vajra, a very powerful sword for this point in the game. So yeah, we're moving along at a pretty fast clip here, and we're kind of reaching the end game, so that's pretty exciting. Actually, kind of a milestone that I think is worth mentioning is that this is the first time any of my Megami Tensei Let's Plays have actually gone on this long. This is the first time I've gotten to part 21. Because SMT1 ended at part 20, though looking back on that Let's Play, there's a few parts that I think went on kind of long, and if I kind of knew then what I knew now about editing and just kind of what I like style-wise these videos to be, you know, I didn't really find my style until I did that KMT1 playthrough, I find. Or I didn't feel fully comfortable with it. I probably would have broken up some of those longer parts more, and that probably would have been a Let's Play that went kind of more towards, like, mid-20-ish parts, so who knows. But yeah, SMT1 was 20 parts, and KMT1 was 19 parts, if you don't want to include the episode 0 as a 20th part, but I don't really include that because it's more of a primer. So yeah, this is by far going to be the longest Let's Play I have done in this style, so that's definitely something to congratulate myself on. I worked hard on this thing, damn it, so yeah, I've just been glad that, once again, everyone, you know, everyone always likes these Megami Tensei Let's Plays. I feel like I do a pretty good job with them, and everyone seems happy with them, so that makes me happy, too. Anyways, enough self-congratulatory crap. We're here over in the Forest of Confusion. Almost forgot the name of the area that I just said minutes ago. And I believe we had an NPC already warn us about the biggest danger of this area. Well, actually, before we go into the area itself, it is actually worth mentioning that there is a special demon that we can recruit here. Now, what you're going to want to do is summon Sylph, so that when you go into this room in the Forest of Confusion, Sylph will be able to break the seal. And once she manages to do that, ... There we go! We freed the Sword Knight. Look at his little arm wiggle. He's ready to cut something. And he's pissed. That's a sword wiggle of anger, if I've ever seen one. He kind of looked cooler when he was imprisoned and floating, honestly. His natural stance is kind of dorky looking. So yeah, this is why we needed that Sylph that I was referring to earlier, but make sure you summon Sylph early on, because the one thing that I was going to warn you about before we were interrupted by that random little side detour is the fact that the Forest of Confusion, as we were previously warned about, is full of tiles that will just not allow us to use our comp at all. That means no summoning demons, no using any of the comp functions. So before you go into any of these areas, you are going to want to make sure that you have your party squared and everyone summoned and everyone in good condition, so that you don't have to be put in a hard place before, you know, you go in here. So the demons are marginally harder here, but they're, again, not too bad. You may have noticed that we encountered a mob of Hydra enemies, which used to be tough enough to be considered, you know, more of a mini-boss. And I believe that was a dead end going out that exit. Funny enough. Yeah, the Forest of Confusion is kind of like the first area of the Demon World. It is a lot of a little bit of random mazes and stuff like that. This is actually one of the larger areas of the Demon World as well. And the first part of it here is a lot of these different caverns and twisty little tunnels. And here's a hint for the thing that we already just did, because I've played this game before. So, you know, I just figured I'd do it right away instead of talking to that NPC first and getting the hint and then being like, oh, let's go get Sylph, you know. I just figured I'd save your time. So, yeah. Sword Knight is actually a very good demon, by the way, too, if you want to have him summoned. But as we're walking through here, yeah, as I was saying, you may have noticed that we encountered some Hydras, which previously were tough enough to be mini-bosses. There's some other kind of harder demons lurking around over here in the Forest of Confusion, especially as we get into the later sections of it, but they're not too bad. Just, again, be mindful of your health. I feel like I say that a lot. I feel like that's kind of my go-to advice, but honest to God, it is the truth. Though, that advice doesn't apply here. These things, in my opinion, 9 times out of 10, when they're in large groups like this, aren't worth fighting. These are kind of like those enemies, those human enemies from really early on in the game. If you recall, those human enemies that you could run into, like those punks that would put you to sleep, I was just like, you know, don't even bother fighting them if they're too annoying. Same thing with these Dream Kiss enemies. They're just gonna cause you, like, to panic and to fall asleep, and they're just more hassle than they're worth most of the time. So here you go, you can see Sword Knight's stats. Only one spell, and not, you know, doesn't really have the intellect to really back it up as a magic user, but that's a lot of health, and that is a, you know, pretty strong demon, physical attack-wise anyways. So, yeah, we're going to move on ahead through this part of the world map. I do have to caution you, though. I highly recommend, well, it'll help when we get into view, but we took one step forward and got into a random encounter again. Let's try to escape. And luck was on our side that time, thank God. Alright, so as I was saying, when you get over to this part of the world map, don't get too close to... you can walk into this village, but don't get too close to that castle on the island. Something bad will happen story-related, and it'll kind of throw a wrench into the order I prefer to play this section of the game in, at least either. I mean, you can do it if you want to. If you know, that's probably the natural order of things and kind of how the developers intended. Like, oh, hey, you'd probably walk over here to see what was up, and that thing would happen. But we're not going to do it quite yet, because I want to take care of some optional stuff here first before we move on with the main quest. So, if you want to, you know, it really doesn't matter either way which way you do this. It's just that something's about to happen if we walk too close to that castle that, will just take some time to undo, but I don't want to spoil anything. So, if we follow Sylph's advice and decide to fuse Sylph with Sword Knight, which is what I'm going to do here, you're going to get Cherubim, which is a seemingly pretty weak demon. You may have noticed it's only level 27, its stats aren't that great, but that's actually kind of a blessing in disguise, because it comes with Sama Raykarm, and it's going to be very cheap to summon. So, the important thing here is that Cherubim is maybe not as good as a technical, like, active party member as Sword Knight, so you may want to keep Sword Knight around for a little bit if that's more what you're interested in. And hey, look, it's Amon. Devilman, yay. Every time I think of Amon or see Amon in anything, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's the Devilman guy. Because my brain is broken by anime and manga. But as I was saying, you know, my demon party I feel pretty comfortable with. I feel like I have enough active party members that I don't need to worry too much. I just decided to see what I could fuse with Cherubim. And nothing really that was better than what I already had. So, yeah, I decided just to do the Sylph and Sword Knight fusion just because I really don't need Sword Knight. But having a demon on hand that is cheap to summon and has a full revive spell... Oh... Sword Knight is a Chad. That's what we're getting from the zombie. That good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, as I was saying, Cherubim's going to be a very good utility demon just for doing revivals and stuff like that when one of our demons die. Always good to have a demon on hand with Sama Raykarm. They're very few and far between in this game, but once you get them, you're going to want to hold on to them for a bit if you can. Oh geez, this Gonna get a little bit of lore for the Forest of Confusion from this Furby. And let's take a look at what the armor prices are at. Yeah, buddy! Woo! Lucifer's Claw. God damn, that's a metal as shit. We're gonna need to pick that up at some point. I don't actually know if I do in this game, but or in this playthrough. I don't know how good I was at the very end here of actually grinding up to get all of this stuff. But one thing I will say, do not get the Yakut or Yakut, however you're supposed to pronounce that. I think it's Yakut maybe. Don't get that armor. It is a complete waste of money. Though actually it might not be depending on your build, but I'll explain that as we get more towards the end of this episode. Because what we're actually going to do, I might as well say it right now, is we are going to do a side quest that is going to reward us with the best armor in the game, but it also has certain stat requirements attached to it. That means that not everyone is going to technically be able to equip it, depending on how they decided to spec out their main character. So, yeah, what this entails is we are going to hug the right wall of this map and just keep going on up, getting the random encounters along the way. So we're going to have to go through this cavern that is sadly going to be covered in fog and kind of a doozy to walk through. Again, not too bad if you're using a map, and you can use Mapara if you want to. Well, I can't use Mapara yet because it's a new moon, but... more lore from this random dude. I like to think that this guy is just a tourist or a photographer that's just going around like Pokemon Snap style, like, whoa, let's tour all the islands of the demon world. It's just like, wow, this place is cool. Just going through a tour of hell, Dante style. Running into walls, having a good time of it. Thankfully, the fog has cleared. Decided to fight those dream kisses, and of course half the party was asleep right after the fight. Got another incense, so that's good. And we can't even use it on Asuka because she is too smart. So we might as well use it on Takuma. Yeah, I learned my lesson after that first fight. I was like, nah. Succubi are still in this area, so be mindful of possibly losing levels if you're not careful. Maybe run away from them, too, if you're extra paranoid, but most of the time I fight them because it's pretty rare that they actually... one, they actually use the attack that can level you down, and two, it actually hits and works. It's low enough odds that I tend to just run the risk and fight them anyways. So we've reached this upper... northeastern part of the Forest of Confusion here. We're gonna walk along these cliffs, and we have found yet another tower, which I believe actually we're kind of wrapped around. I believe you can see this tower from that first shrine that we warped to after we used the orb from that little Masakato joint, that little central island. Kind of a shame that, I believe that the Forest of Confusion, you know, on the overworld map it looks like you're going to caverns, and the dungeon map tiles actually look like caverns, but I kind of always thought it'd be a little bit cooler if they were able to, instead of doing those caverns, make it more of like a Lost Woods style thing, where you're just going through like a maze of different like trees and stuff like that. It would have just, you know, broken up the monotony. I kind of complained already about these this tile set being done to death in the demon world, unfortunately, but it would be kind of cool to shake that up with the actual like forest and all the trees and all that made up the walls. It'd look pretty neat, I bet. Still not sick of this music though, that's for damn sure. I could listen to this all day. Gonna cast my power just to help us out here. I believe this might be... yeah, I actually believe that this area is full of pitfalls, which Izanami's robe is not going to protect us from. It just means that if we walk on the wrong tile, we are just going to fall completely through, which is never fun. So yeah, just follow my footsteps here, and you should be fine. If I recall, that's why I did Mappara. And usually in these old Megami Tensei games, when there's a big open room like that, the reason why is because there's a bunch of pitfalls everywhere, and they want you to trial your error your way through the area. But I refuse, goddammit. Getting a lot of incenses in these Demon World dungeons as well, which I'm very thankful for. These chimeras can actually hit pretty hard too, and they're pretty tanky, so be a little careful for these guys. But they'll also reward you with a healthy chunk of experience points if you manage to come out of the battle victorious. Really cool design. We're getting to that point of the JRPG where all the random encounters are starting to get like really beefy and cool looking designs, or they look like they could have been bosses at earlier points in the game. Bye bye, Chimera. Going up once again. Just gonna keep marching along till we get to the top of this here tower. A lot of tower climbing these past few episodes. Don't know what to make of that. There are two different types of areas in the Demon World. Well, not including the villages. There's caverns and there's towers. Oh, so you're still salty about that, huh? Whew. Okay. Okay, incel buddy. let's calm down here. I actually find this a little interesting because this guy's dialogue implies that he's yeah, as you can see, he seems to be allied with Pazuzu, and Pazuzu seem to be allied with God, so I kind of find it interesting that even in the demon world in this game, there are some demons that are seemingly more, allied with God and the angels than with Lucifer. Just kind of a unique twist on the demon world, and kind of makes you wonder if that turf war that was happening over in Tokyo kind of has its roots and kind of extends down here in the demon world as well. I guess this is probably me thinking way too much about the setting and how the world map is laid out, but maybe the reason why Mitra here is so located so far away from the rest of the Forest of Confusion is kind of secluded beyond a cavern and up these cliffs in his own little tower here is maybe because he disagrees with the majority of the demons that are allied with Lucifer. That's my new headcanon. It makes sense to me, but yeah, I really like the fact that even this far into the game, not all the demons see eye to eye on the whole God versus Lucifer thing, seemingly. Even though that's really not been an element of the game that's been spoken of much, but it's kind of implied through background details and just what we know of the setting and all that. But it's definitely not a major focus as it would be in other games in the series. At least not yet. We'll get there. Decided to level up Asuka's strength a little bit there. And you can see, too, the only thing that's tricky about Mitra is that Mitra can actually bind you, so that's a little annoying, but nothing you should be too worried about. He goes down pretty easy by this point in the game. So, let's take a look at Lucifer's armor here. You can see that it has a star. That means that it has something, like, it has a stat requirement associated with it. So, I believe you need to actually have 30 vitality. Let me just double check this real quick. Yeah, you need 30 vitality and 25 incense, and that includes any bonuses you get from equipment. It is the best defensive armor in the game, or it's the best armor in the game in terms of defense, and it will also give you +1 to speed and resist electric and fire magic, so that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to play through this game and not have any intelligence points given to Takuma, so that kind of sucks, but I planned ahead. But yeah, we're going to... Yeah, see, I guess I did buy Lucifer's Claw there. So we got Lucifer's armor, we got Lucifer's Claw. We were just cosplaying as the devil at this point, so that's fun stuff. But yeah, I hope you followed my advice early on this Let's Play and put a few intelligence points into Takuma, because it definitely pays off in more ways than one. We'll get to another equipment that requires intelligence later, but... Yeah, that's how you get the best armor in Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 2. See you next time, where we're going to go through the rest of the Forest of Confusion. Have a good one!